Joins us on the phone now from Beirut. And Zeina, this is an incredibly fast-moving story, obviously. We're getting pictures now from southern Beirut of what appears to be an explosion. What more can you tell us about what's happened there?
Yes, reports of an explosion in Beirut's southern suburbs. The Israeli army issuing a statement saying that it carried out, quote, a targeted strike in Beirut. We still do not have much information. Beirut's southern suburbs is considered a stronghold of Hezbollah. This is a place where a densely populated area where Hezbollah supporters live. This is not the first time Beirut's southern suburbs has been targeted in 11 months of fighting between Hezbollah and Israel, and every time, but this is really a major escalation. This can be seen as a major escalation. In fact, in recent days, we have seen this conflict gradually escalate. Targeting Beirut's southern suburbs is really, in many ways, even though if this indeed was a targeted assassination, taking out a military official, is in Hezbollah's. Hezbollah, sorry, I'm just trying to drive to reach the site of the explosion, and there's some chaos in the street, as you can imagine. Whenever people hear about people in the Lebanese capital have been on edge for the past few days now because of these ongoing attacks. Just a few days ago, we had those pager explosions, walkie-talkie explosions, where thousands of people were injured in an attack against Hezbollah blamed on Israel. So now what we are getting, the initial reports that this could be an Israeli strike, and it could be a targeted assassination. There's a lot of concern in this country that the level of hostilities, if you like, the conflict has reached a new level. We are really gradually climbing the ladder. Beirut's southern suburbs, like I mentioned, it's a densely populated area. You have residential buildings. The last attack was in July, and at the end of July, and Israel killed Hezbollah's chief of staff, Fuad Shukr. That was in the end of July, and that killing really escalated tensions between Hezbollah and Israel. So I can see people scrambling to make their way home. There's panic in the streets. It's not going to be easy for us to reach the location because of the traffic. Everyone is trying to get home. The country really has been on edge in recent days. Israeli officials, their rhetoric has become more inflammatory. They are promising a new phase in this war. So right now, what we know is that the Israeli army saying it carried out a strike in Beirut. We are seeing smoke coming from Beirut's southern suburbs. We're also seeing videos emerging from the area showing massive destruction in a residential area.
Yeah, Zeina, can you just give us a sense of what it must be like there, what it is like there on the streets at this point in time after this strike, but also what's been happening over the last several days? I mean, how are people coping with not knowing what is coming next?
Yes, a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions on exactly what you said. What comes next? Where is this confrontation heading? Are we going to see a repeat of the 2006 war, the last major war that was fought between Hezbollah and Israel? So yes, there's concern. But what has been happening so far between these warring sides is that they've both really, in one way or the other, sticking to unwritten rules of engagement where targets are military targets. But this strike in the heart of a residential area, even though it's a targeted strike, we're seeing from the pictures a residential building almost totally destroyed. So definitely there will be civilian casualties in this strike. Hezbollah has said, targeting Beirut's southern suburbs is crossing the red line. Now, Hezbollah really is in a very difficult position in this point, at this point in time, because it wants to avoid an all-out confrontation. That has been its position since it opened up a front against Israel to help relieve pressure on Gaza. But if it does not hit hard...
تم وضع اتصالك قيد الانتظار.
OK, we seem to have just lost Zeina Khodr for a moment. We're going to do our best to try and get her back. We do know that she is trying to make her way to the scene of this strike that has just occurred in the last 10 or 15 minutes or so in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Airstrikes from the Israeli military have hit a densely populated area of Beirut. Zeina, I believe we have got you back now. Can you just talk us through the latest, not just in terms of what has happened here, but in what the capabilities are of Hezbollah at this point in time to actually respond to Israel's aggression here?
Well, this looks like a massive strike. Pictures emerging from the scene of this attack show tremendous damage. Even though if this was a targeted assassination of an official belonging to Hezbollah, from the pictures that we are seeing online as we try to make our way to the area, it shows that there could be a lot of casualties because, as you can see, this is a densely populated residential area. Now, to go back to your question, what are Hezbollah's capabilities? Hezbollah has precision-guided missiles, long-range precision-guided missiles that can hit any area of Israel, from the north to the south of Israel. It hasn't used these weapons yet because if it chooses to do so, it will be the beginning of a very different kind of war. Hezbollah has been trying to avoid this conflict widening. A few weeks ago, Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah Secretary General, said it is very easy for us to target civilians, but it will only bring a response where Israel will target civilian population centers. So Hezbollah has been trying to keep this conflict contained to military targets. So this is a very difficult decision. And Hezbollah officials have been saying time and time again that they believe the Israeli government is trying to provoke Hezbollah into an all-out conflict, that by continuing to carry out these attacks, which are considered attacks that cross red lines, then it is trying to provoke and trigger Hezbollah retaliatory strike. So far, Hezbollah has been acting, has been restraining itself in many ways. But if it does not hit we're getting some reports. I mean, this is breaking news, and some channels are saying, some media reports are saying that this could be, again, I do not want to speculate, but this could be a top-ranking Hezbollah official target with some media reports claiming could be the Deputy Secretary General of the movement, Naim Asim. But again, a lot of speculation. This just happened only a few minutes ago. But this seems to be a massive strike. Just seeing, I can see some pictures online, the tremendous damage that this strike has caused. Remember, it was only at the end of July when Israel assassinated Hezbollah's chief of staff, Fuad Shukr. A number of other civilians died in that strike. So another targeted assassination just a few days after an unprecedented security operation by, well, of course, Israel is being blamed. It hasn't claimed responsibility by Israel that targeted Hezbollah's communication network, blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies belonging to the members of the organization, whether they belong to the military institutions of Hezbollah or whether or not they belong to the civilian institutions of Hezbollah. Hezbollah runs a lot of associations, organizations. They even run some hospitals. So some of the casualties were doctors who had those pagers with them. So those strikes a few days ago, Hezbollah considered them as crossing the red line. We heard Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah say yesterday that he considered those attacks, the explosions of the pagers and the walkie-talkies, a declaration of war. And now this, what seems to be an apparent assassination in the heart of Beirut. So Hezbollah has, this is probably, we are at a point in Hezbollah's history, if you like, where it is facing its biggest challenge yet. How will it respond to what has been happening and what has been really unprecedented attacks against the organization?
Remarkable times. We're watching them unfold in real time. Thank you so much. That is Zeina Khodr for us there in Beirut. We're going to go now to Zain Basravi, who is in Jordan's capital, Amman, because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting from within Israel. And just staying with this explosion in southern Beirut, Zain, do you have a better idea of what or who Israel was targeting?
Well, according to Israel's Channel 12 News, they say, confirming some of the reports we've heard out of Lebanon, that a very senior official in Hezbollah was the target of this attack carried out by the Israeli army. Now, the days leading up to this moment were already some of the most violent that we've seen on the northern border with Lebanon since the war on Gaza began. And the events of the last few hours, certainly of the last several minutes, represent a sudden uptick. And as a cue to that, pivoting to that, Israel's military has said that the Home Front Command will issue guidelines. Israeli forces have renewed calls for Israelis to stay near shelters, expecting some kind of retaliation. The call and response, rocket attacks, artillery, exchanges of fire between Hezbollah and forces in Israel have been going on since this morning. Just a few hours ago, Hezbollah launched 120 rockets into Israeli airspace. Israel has retaliated. All of this seems to have begun since Israeli rocket fire started early this morning against what they described as Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. And now with this attack in Beirut, it represents a very sudden uptick that just takes everyone further and further away from any sort of negotiated settlement to this ongoing conflict.
OK, thank you so much. That is Zain Basravi for us there in Amman, because Al Jazeera has been banned from reporting within Israel. We're going to go now to Dorsa Jabbari, who joins us from Beirut. Dorsa, can you just bring us up to date with the latest that you are hearing on these airstrikes, these Israeli airstrikes in southern Beirut?
Well, according to eyewitnesses, we've spoken to someone who was at the scene when the strike happened. There is utter chaos around the building that was targeted. Now, according to Israeli media, the Israeli army targeted a Hezbollah, high-ranking Hezbollah official without naming who that is. What is clear, according to local media on the scene, is that there are civilian casualties, including children. Now, the strike took place at near Al Ghaim complex in the Dahiyeh neighborhood in southern Beirut. This is, of course, a predominantly Shia neighborhood and a stronghold of Hezbollah. This is not, of course, the first time that we've seen Israel carry out this kind of targeted assassination in Dahiyeh. Just at the end of July, Fuad Shukr of Hezbollah was assassinated in this neighborhood in a similar manner. So we're just trying to get more information as the picture becomes more clear in the coming hours. But what is clear at the moment is that there is a lot of anxiety, and the scenes, the reports we're getting from the location where the attack happened is utter chaos, as one can imagine. Many civilians in this neighborhood. It's a heavily populated area of Beirut. So we're just waiting for official officials from the Lebanese government to give us more information.
Yeah, and we're hearing that this was a targeted Israeli strike against a senior Hezbollah figure. That's coming from multiple security sources. But at this point, looking at those pictures, it doesn't really seem at this stage to be that targeted because as we see there, huge number of buildings have been affected, if not completely destroyed, with many cars overturned and debris strewn around the streets there. Can you just give us a sense of what it is like on the streets of Beirut at the moment, not just what's happened now, but over the last few days as we have seen Israel really step up its attacks on Hezbollah and the people of Lebanon?
Look, things have been very tense here. People are very worried, given what happened last Tuesday and Wednesday in that pager and mobile devices attack by Israel. There's a lot of anxiety here in Lebanon, and particularly the civilian population feeling that it's been nearly a year since Hezbollah and Israel have been continuously fighting each other along the border, and now occasionally that fight being brought to the Lebanese capital, as is the case today. But people are extremely worried that this could be an all-out war very quickly, and that if this continues without any kind of a resolution or a ceasefire in Gaza, there really is no possibility that they would be spared, the civilian population. So there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear. Given that, this is very much a country that is used to conflict. Lebanese people have seen one conflict after another for decades, and they are very, very tired. Many people we've spoken to here say that they want some peace, and that is what they're hoping for. Given that, the speech we heard from Hassan Nasrallah yesterday, where he addressed the latest attacks on Hezbollah members by Israel and the continuing fighting along those front lines in the south of Lebanon, there is no indication that Hezbollah is willing to back down. Hassan Nasrallah said no matter what happens, his resistance group, his organization, will not back down. Hezbollah will not be deterred. They will continue to support the Palestinian people. They will continue to support Hamas. They will continue to support people of the West Bank. And they will continue to fight Israel. Given everything that is happening now, it is very, very clear that Hezbollah is not going to back down. Hassan Nasrallah also saying that the attacks that continue to come at them and the organization have not shaken or altered the infrastructure of Hezbollah. No matter who Israel assassinates, no matter how many of its members it tries to attack in whatever shape or form that attack comes, it doesn't change the organization, that they will withstand these attacks. So those words are very, very significant. And I think people here who continue to support Hezbollah believe in the ideology that it was founded on. And regardless of the amount of casualties and damage that they sustain, the group is adamant that they will withstand it. But at what cost? That is the main question. Yeah,
and we are seeing some of that play out at the moment. Before this strike in southern Beirut happened, Hezbollah had fired well over 100 rockets into Israel, into northern Israel. Can you just bring us up to speed on exactly what was happening along that Lebanese-Israeli border?
Well, late last night, Israel launched the highest number of attacks, airstrikes on Hezbollah positions in the south. Over 70 airstrikes, targeting about 100 different weapons depots belonging to Hezbollah in the southern part of Lebanon. And this morning, Hezbollah has been responding. At least 150 rockets have been launched on various, what Hezbollah says are Israeli military positions along the border in northern Israel. And that is what we've been seeing, this continuous barrage, rocket fire back and forth. And the Hezbollah putting out a statement saying that they are continuing these attacks as a response to the Israeli aggression that they have seen in southern Lebanon. Now, these are areas that are mainly evacuated. The civilian population has been evacuated, but there are still people that remain in parts of these areas in northern Israel. And so far, we have not had any casualties yet, but the attacks, as far as we understand, continue throughout the day.
OK, thank you so much, Dorsa. That is Dorsa Jabbari there with the latest from Beirut.